we'll go ahead and have it recorded for anyone that wants to listen to the actual recording, although the slideshow is pretty self-explanatory, and we can go from there. As you can see, the duologue and the poetry are two events that we do as recitation. So you're repeating somebody else's text. You're not writing original text yourself in these competitions. We just finished up our duologues, and that was finished up in person at Colegio del Verbo Divino. And now we will be working on the poetry, which is grades 3 through 8. Typically, when we have our in-person competition, we have the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade on Thursday and the 6th, 7th, and 8th on Friday. But we reverse that because of local standardized testing that's happening. So we will, this time, if you happen to be judging in the semifinals or finals, we swapped that around, so we'll have the older students on Thursday and the younger grades on Friday. That will be at St. George. Round 1, of course, will be in the comforts of your own home to do whatever you would like there. This year, the theme was music. Every year we have a different theme. This year was music. For those of you that are not familiar with ESU, our website, when you go to our homepage, if you go to the Events Voices tab, you'll get information about our past winners. If you go to the tab for school, you'll get all the information we have online for registering, hard copy to download of the handbook, the rubrics that are used, suggested activities, prepare for the activities. All of those things are under the for school area. I grabbed a few things about the ESU. If those of you aren't familiar, it was formed in London by Prince Philip back in the 1950s. About 20 years ago, Chile decided to have its own chapter. The idea is that English is the language of communication. So if it's not the language in your household or what you study under, it certainly is something, no matter what career you pursue, to be comfortable to communicate in that language. So there's over 50 different branches, Chile being one of them. On our homepage, as I said, if you click to the go to school information, in this case, we'll want to click on the poetry. The poetry and the duologue have a lot of repetition since they are similar activities. When you tab the more information, you get a pretty similar format that always has the registration information, the actual handbook, the rubric, and suggested activities. Anyone that wants to see this workshop, we have workshops posted for teachers in what we suggest, as well as the judges. So we can send you the link, or you can go to the website and tab and ask for that. Any of the things that I refer to, if you want a hard copy as you're judging, you can go to the event handbook and download that and print out certain pages. Or you can go to the specific tab, like for the rubric, and get a PDF version of the rubric if you want to have that to the side as you're judging, just so that you have a hand copy. A lot of people like to have hand copy of it. Some people will have a big enough screen that they just pop it up on their screen and have a split screen with what they're judging or viewing at the same time. That's up to you what you're comfortable with. The handbook itself, as I said, is several pages long, so you can glance through that and see what pages actually you want to make a hard copy for your convenience to view. The rubrics themselves are in the handbook as well as a separate tab. The only difference between the duologue and the poetry is that two people perform in the duologue and only one person in the poetry. Otherwise, the rubrics are the same. The expectation of what we would think a third grader can do as opposed to a first grader has to do with hearing it at the time. So the bar raises. The same with what we would expect our 7th and 8th graders as far as if you were judging third grade, the bar will increase just because of the age level. But the categories are all the same. And we have specifically if they follow the rules, the accuracy of what they were able to say, their preparation, their projection, their pronunciation, their rhythm, their meter, their tone, their use of gestures, their eye contact, their overall confidence. All of those things are considered separately and scored separately and then totaled up at the end. As I said, those same categories are used for both of these events, and everybody will have at least 3 judges within their heat to average their information with. From the handbook, when you are using the rubric, as I said, you can print out a copy to have to the side for yourself. The people that are judging the semifinals and finals will have a hard copy set off to the side for them. On the online version, there will be pop-up menus of the detailed information. So when you're scoring the part for preparation, did they follow the rules? This will pop up and you can see if they memorized it correctly, if they did not use any of the visual props, or keeping in mind that all of the recitations for that grade level have been calculated ahead of time to be equal in difficulty as far as number of 2, 3, and 4 syllable words, number of lines, that sort of thing are looked on ahead of time already. So you will really just concentrate on if they followed specifically the guidelines for this event. One of the things we want you to keep in line as a judge is that they're not supposed to use any visual aids or props. Many of them like to do that because it adds to the atmosphere and tone. But in this case, we want the focus to be on their voice. And can they project that emotion and idea through their voice and the lilt and expression in their voice? So we ask that no props of any kind are used, that they just have a plain solid background. When they present themselves, especially if you're doing round 1, many of them don't follow the rules and guidelines. So you need to mark that and indicate that in your comments that they did not introduce themselves properly, because we don't want the judges to be biased by seeing what school they're from or their family name to think that oh, that was particularly well done for a person from that school, or very well done, or I expected more from somebody from a family name like that. We don't want any of those biases to come out as you're judging. So they all should have followed the directions and introduced themselves properly with just using their given name and the title of their poem. That's all they say, and go right into their recitation. The microphones for round 1, many of them just use the microphone off of the phone or laptop that they're using. But if they have a microphone, you need to be sure that the microphone didn't cover their face and limit their facial expression or use of other hand gestures. So we suggest that if they need a microphone, that it's already mounted on some sort of stand. If you're doing the semifinals and finals, make sure that everyone has the microphone in position before the judging begins. And there's usually a tech person in there that adjusts it accordingly. Oftentimes, however, they put the microphone very close to the student's face, and you need to remind them to back up, that they shouldn't be holding on to the microphone. If it's too close to their mouth, which they see many entertainers and performers do, it distorts their voice and gives a very deep bass sound, and oftentimes the popping of the letter P or certain things get very distorted. So you need to be sure all of those things are in position before you start judging. As I said, the judging itself, before they're even selected and put into the handbook, the number of words, the number of syllables, the number of phrases within a verse, all of those things are looked at and equalized between the grade levels. So each grade level, typically we try to get a classic, well-known poet, as well as a particularly humorous and just other variety of whatever works for that grade level within the theme that year. One thing is, again, each grade level, the poems are listed in the handbook, and they'll take 2 or 3 pages to print out the poems for that particular grade level. So you can call them up on your screen as you're watching and do a dual screen, or print out those 2 or 3 pages specifically for the grade level that you'll be assigned to, whatever is most comfortable for you. I need to point out anyone that happens to be assigned 6th grade, we did have a typo that the fancy dancer was printed incorrectly, and it said fancy dresser. So if somebody introduces that one incorrectly, we've asked them to correct it before they go on to the semifinals. But if they looked at an old copy when it first came out, they shouldn't be penalized for that, because that was just a typo error on our fault. There's a handful of them that'll be the case. So one of the first main areas for diction is how well they project, their pronunciation, their rhythm, their clarity, their stress. We look at those things, and each one of them gets from 5 to 0 points, 5 being the highest. Their projection and their pronunciation, for the most part, probably they're the top student in that grade for that school. You're probably going to get 4s and 5s in that area. It's unusual that you have anything less than that, because they've worked on it. They've been able to video it as many times as need be. What you're going to get to start determining the difference between who's going to advance on to the semifinals is if they have any rhythm and meter within what they say. If they speed up because of nervousness and speak too quickly, if they have pauses and phrases within certain repeating lines, you're going to start getting the differences between what's expected is a 3, if they did very well, which would be a 4, and 5 if you really think it was exemplary. Again, the next section has to do with their tone, their gestures that they use, their eye contact, their overall confidence. And in this case, the tone is going to be, were they able to express sadness or happiness and have a certain emotion that you felt as you were listening to the presentation? The gestures, again, pretty much everybody will at least have something that there would be a 3. And in this area, it would be a 4 or a 5. These two areas are really going to kind of help define who advances on to the semifinals. If they overuse their body gestures, you don't want to give them too high of a score. Many of them have very repetitious gestures because they use it every time the word is there instead of using a slightly different gesture for that particular word each time it's said. Or maybe they only do hand gestures, but they don't do much with their facial expression, with their shoulders, with their hand gestures. There's a lot of variety that they can do before you would move it all the way up. Sometimes the gestures are overused, and you need to comment on that as well. They had so many gestures that it took away from the voice, and you want, this is a recitation, so you want the voice to be the focus, and the gestures should be harmonious and complement them, not overpower them. So here, that would be a very good example of a difference between a 4 and a 5 if they overdid the gestures. If they, many of them want to do a dramatic acting out of it, and it is supposed to be a recitation that they are saying the poem, which means that they're basically in position, in place. They're not moving all over the stage as you would if you're doing a dramatization of it. The eye contact is a tricky one on how to score. If you're doing round 1, for the most part, they really look straightforward. And you just give them a 3, and you're just consistent with it that yes, they did what was expected, instead of looking down at their feet or looking up in the air trying to remember. To get a 4 or a 5 at this point is a little bit more advanced. So you give credit where credit's due, and if they on their recording are actually as if they were live in an audience and looking to one side, back to the center, off to another side, back to the center, and actually establish different eye contact, that's a lot more advanced technique, and you should give credit where credit's due. So when I'm scoring these things, they're beginners, and for the most part, they're probably going to get a 3 for eye contact because they just looked forward to the camera like they were supposed to. But you judge that accordingly to what you feel. Again, the confidence level, you can tell those that come out right away and feel comfortable with their presence, or if they were nervous and they had their hands just stiff the whole time, if they have kind of a rocking back and forth, if they play with their hair or they do nervous sort of gestures, those kinds of things can be commented in that area. We do the total points that online, the computer will total it up for you. And then there is a place for additional comments. You can personalize them and type out individual personalized ones. And this year, we have added a pool of suggested ideas. So everybody gets at least 1 or 2 comments from every judge. And we'll go into that a little bit further as we go along here. Again, online, we have suggestions for sentence starters. If you individualize your comments, what kinds of things you could say, and just fill in the blank according to that. So you could print out that for ideas if if you so choose. In the past, our rubrics online were done with a Google form. We have moved this year for both the duologue and the poetry to something that's online. I will be showing you. And all of the information that's on our rubric is a shortened version online. So I would recommend anybody that likes to see a hard copy as you're viewing the videos, whatever grade level you're doing, print out a hard copy so that you see all of the text and all the details. And then you'll see the shortened version of that when you actually go to judge online. I also know that most judges, whatever grade level they're at, everybody should have somewhere between the neighborhood of 8 and 10 videos that you will be watching or scoring. If you want to print out this, we have the overview rubric online that you can print it out, or something similar, or just in a notebook that you kind of keep track. When I judge mine, typically, however many I'm going to judge in that grade level, I watch all of them once and then just put little comments, gut level of things that I noticed. Then I go back a second time and I score them more specifically. I usually score all of these, and then when I'm done, if ones are very close, I might look at them again because I thought, did I really want to give them a 4 or a 5? Certain areas, but I use my own personal notes and then I go to the online itself. If you're doing the semifinals and finals in person, of course, you have to judge on the spot. So again, many like to keep notes as they're performing and put little notations there, but then whatever you want to score for that student online, you need to do immediately before the next person comes up to start their presentation. Now you can do something like the overview, or we also have online things that people use for practice scoring with their students, where you choose just 3 or 4 main things that you really think make the difference between who's going to go on to the semifinals, who really is very clear in their enunciation, who spoke with a lot of emotion and rhythm, who had a really good harmonious body language, overall confidence. You might want to keep just something like that for your personal notes before you go back and decide your specific areas. Whatever works best for you as you're viewing, however many you're going to score, and then go back and give a final score in our online. The online rubric looks like this. So up at the top will be your name and the grade level that has been assigned to you. So it will say grade 3, grade 4, grade 7, whatever grade you have been assigned to. And there will be a pop-up menu of the students that you will be viewing and the name of the poem that they're doing. So you should just click on that and not have to type it in every time. Then the first thing you'll do is, did they follow the guidelines? And when you click on the little arrow that's up at the top there, every one of them has these little arrows here. That will pop up further information. And once you enter it, then when you click on that, it'll go back to show you what you put. So these little triangles are important for the pop-up menus. So first off, with the guidelines, if you click on that, then what will pop up is the information from the rubric that's in the guidelines and in the full rubric. of did they follow this? So you can pop that up to refresh your memory. Oh, that's right, they weren't supposed to wear their school uniform and they did. So you want to make sure and comment and point that out within the comments on why you would give them a lower score. Keeping in mind that the students never see the exact score you give them, only the comments that you put. So as you comment for the guidelines, then the next thing will be, did they say it with accuracy? Were they well prepared, or did they speak too fast? Did they miss lines? Were they clear? Was their pronunciation good? Was the rhythm? Again, when you click on one of those arrows, you will see the full printout from the rubric of what would be a 5, a 4, a 3, a 2, or a 1 for that area, that category. Oops. Once you do that main area, then we have like a pool of 10 suggested things that as a judge, you think was the thing that was the strength. They might have done all of these things because they're a good performer, but you think what really stood out about that particular presentation was the emphasis that they put on keywords and phrases, or maybe the the flow and the rhythm, the lilt that they put. So you can click one or two of these things that you think was really the strength, which doesn't mean that they didn't do the other things. You want to give them feedback on what you think was particularly strong in their presentation. If something that's written here you don't completely agree with, there is the category down below that you can click and write something yourself. Like maybe you want to say, had good volume and clarity throughout, but was nervous at the beginning and then obviously went into the rhythm. Maybe you wanted to elaborate on one of these points and personalize it more. Or maybe you want to say good emphasis on the key words, especially when they repeated the chorus every time. Or maybe there's something you want to personalize that you can add in that. Many of them, all they do is, Many of them, all they do is just the suggested pool of comments, which is fine. But if you want to personalize and say something, these are the areas that will actually be collated and sent to the students. Like I said, we don't give any particular total score or what you gave as a score in a certain area. For the feedback will only be what you click as their strengths as well as their weaknesses in a certain area. They could have maybe practiced a little more often, or they didn't follow all of the guidelines. Again, one thing that you think stands out in that performance that if they were to keep practicing, you would say they should work on further. If again from the pool there's not anything that really hits you, you again can write in your own words an individualized point. So you'll do that in two different areas. You'll do it first in the diction and then in the body language. There will be, how did they use the tone, not just in their voice. You've already commented on the expression in their voice, but did the tone come out in their body language that they used? when they communicated their gestures, was it good use? Was it overuse? Um, did they have a good variety of gestures, or did they just have one gesture they kept repeating? And here again in this area, you will pick one or two things that really was their strength that stood out with that particular performer, and one thing that if they were to work on it and prepare it further, you think they should work on that area. That was the area that you saw as their weakest. Again, some of them are very good speakers, and you might have a hard time coming up with something that you check there. So you can put a personalized comment or modify one of the comments that's written already there, depending on how you feel about that particular performance. So there's two areas that you will put actual comments that go back to the students on their diction and pronunciation and on their overall body language. And then those will be sent off to the students individually, only to just that student to get feedback from the judges. Round one, as all of the scores are averaged, will decide who goes on to the semifinals. And anyone that's judging the semifinals will have to decide who should go on to the final heat, which means you will select the top 4 from your particular heat. And if you're in the final round, from the 4 that perform, you will decide who's first, second, third, and honorable mention of the 4 that say that. So on the day of giving their presentation in person, they will in the morning say their same poem that they did during round 1 for their presentation to an audience, and it will be judged immediately. And during the break time, all of those scores will be averaged, totaled up, and the top 4 candidates from that grade level of all of the heats, because they're at that point is only 1 heat per grade level. They will say the top 4 for each grade level to go on to the final heats, which is later in the morning. So similar to what we did last year, we will have everybody come in, get registered, have some welcoming words. The first competition heats will simultaneously happen in different rooms according to the grade levels. And then the final heats will be all together in the main room together, and we will do, first we'll do, on Thursday, we'll do the 4 6th graders, then the 4 7th graders, and then the 4 8th graders. On Friday, we will start with the top 4 third graders, then the top 4 4th graders, and the top 4 5th graders. And on the Friday, from all of the calculations, we will also total up total points for participation of a school of who gets the traveling trophy for the most participation. So that is the overview. Those are the dates. If you have any specific questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and send it to esu@esu.cl, and it will get to whoever needs to answer it. Myself, Christine, Alejandro, whoever needs to answer according to the question that you have specifically for that. So, is there any specific questions that anybody has They didn't have any questions as I was speaking, so I encourage you at this point, if there's anything that you would like clarified, this would be a good time to go ahead and ask it. Any reactions? Something that you're kind of surprised? Something that you think will be easy to do? Something you think that might be a little more challenging to do? Any questions or comments? Perfect.
Hello, it's Sandra here.
Yeah, good.
I'm sorry, I was a little bit late for the meeting, but
Yes.
it was, well, I couldn't actually be on time. So I'm apologizing for that first.
Yes.
Secondly, I don't know whether I'm going to be judging poetry, recitation, or duologue.
Right
If it's duologue.
No, excuse me. Right now is poetry. We've finished all of the duologue,
Okay.
and
Okay.
everyone
Okay.
everyone here today will be
It's
assigned
for poetry.
a poetry, and that will be any
So,
third grade and eighth grade. As I said at the beginning, you might have missed that part. We will have
mhm.
at least 3 people per grade level, and we divide it up accordingly to people from the north, the south, the central, people that are from institutions versus classroom teachers, administrators. We like to get a mix so that there's a variety within the judging. But
Oh, that's fantastic.
that will be happening in the next couple of days. And
Okay.
on Wednesday, by Wednesday morning, everybody should have an email from Alejandro that says, you've been assigned to grade such and such. Here are the other people that are judging with you, and here are the video links for everyone that you need to watch and comment. And here are the links to get to the online rubric. And if you want to print out copies from the handbook or the rubric, all of those things will come in an email that will go out Tuesday night or Wednesday morning. Okay?
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. One more question. And how long do we have to finish the task?
We
Is
give
it
Till the 21st.
yes,
Between the 15th and the 21st.
we do 1
oh,
week.
fantastic.
We do 1 week.
Fantastic.
Okay, so
Oh,
it's
very good. Very good.
You have to upload everything. Everybody has to upload everything by the 21st, please.
yes,
Okay.
And we have to announce
right.
No
the winners.
problem. No problem. No problem. Thank you very much. Thank you. And I'm
Thank you,
sorry again
Sandra.
for being so late.
Yes. The idea is that we go from the weekday, we do, in this case, Wednesday to Wednesday, which gives you, some people prefer to work at school before they go home. They just like sit in their room and get it done. Some people prefer to go home and call it up later after dinner or whatever works for them. But that gives you a certain amount of days during the week that you're actually at school, as well as the weekend, if that's easier for you to just sit and do them all in one sitting at a particular day, whatever happens to work for you. But we do need it by Tuesday evening, Wednesday morning at the very latest, so that we can then put our emails together on who will go on to the semifinals. So the schools can start preparing, because many of them will have to travel. Well, many of them are coming from out of Santiago, and they will have to make arrangements to come to the in-person competitions if they go on to the semifinals.
Linan, can I add a tip?
Yes.
Because, and maybe the other judges who have also done this before can say what they think.
Yeah.
Normally, the idea is, at least this is what I do, and I find it works, is watch all the videos first, all of them. Just watch them without even looking really at the rubrics. And then I go back and do one by one, and if necessary, do it 2 or 3 times. And once I've finished, I once again do all of them and check that the one who has the highest marks is the one that really I'm convinced should have the highest marks, for example. I don't know, Pamila's done it before, Sandra's done it before. Can you tell us how you do it?
Yeah, I also
Yes.
did that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go, go.
No, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
You first.
Okay. Yes, I did that too. I watched them all first, also to get an idea of, to get familiar with the task, to get familiar with the performance of the kids, because it was my first time doing it. So I did that first. I watched them all, and then I watched them one by one, and then I would go back a little bit if I had doubts with certain criteria. But it also doesn't take that long. I thought it was gonna take much longer than it took me, because there aren't that many videos that you're sent, and they're very short. So that was also, it was good for the busy teacher mother life.
Thank you, Pamela.
You're welcome.
And Sandra was going to speak, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to show my face also. I'm sorry. Yeah, I've done it before in creative writing, and I did enjoy it. It was really, really good. It was very nice, and I also do the same. I just read everything first, every single writing, and then I went back and to check the whole things. But it's actually a pleasure. Super good to do it. I see. So I'm really looking forward to this.
Sandra Moreno has also done it before. Let's see. Thank you,
Yeah.
Sandra. Thank you, Sandra Raji. Sandra Moreno now. Sandra's from the north.
I think there are more details this time because the first time I worked on my own, I assessed, evaluated the students, and then I just sent my evaluation, my marks. But now I think I took notes, comments on weaknesses, or
Ah,
not weaknesses, but elements to consider in the future, positive things. Are there more things to do, or is it just my idea?
no,
I don't
Sandra,
know.
yeah, that existed before, but very few complied with it. We used to ask for the comments, and practically nobody added the comments. And so now you have options.
Okay.
Now you have options.
Okay.
So, I mean, just check on the list and see what there is there. And I think, Lenan, I can't remember, but I think there's one in blank, so that if you don't find anything on the menu, you can add your own,
Okay.
because maybe it doesn't fit.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, Maria.
Thank you. I would like to know who is going to be our counterpart on this. I mean, if I have any doubt, who is it? Is it Christine or the Alejandro that you named?
If you have a question about judging, you can send that to Christina.
By mail.
Alejandro is the person that does all of our administrative things.
Okay.
Helps the emails. He will send out the links. He will keep all of the information. But if you have questions specifically about the judging, that should go to either Christine or myself. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll be checking mails once or twice a day. So
Okay.
just if you have anybody has any questions, please just go ahead
Mhm. Yes.
and I'll be answering you during the day. I don't
Ah.
promise every hour, but yes, during the day.
Thank you. Very kind of you.
Over the next couple of days, of course, you can, like I said, look over the materials that are online. The recording that I made, we will send a link to everybody as well as the PowerPoint. So you can just call that up if you want to and look back at what it said on the screen for helpful hints and details. Because right now we're sorting out the videos that have come in and make sure that nobody judges a student that is affiliated from their school in any way, and getting our groupings of who to break up for certain grade levels and within the heats. And like I said, all of that should go out by Tuesday or Wednesday morning at the latest.
Just a second, because I want to add a link
Oh. Oh, on the chat?
in the chat. Yeah, the handbook they're asking. So I'm going to add the link, okay?
Okay.
Just a second.